WPC Power driver board totally in op when it came into me. I replaced the power out GI headers and the power in headers also. The problem, as you will note in the still images I rolled in at the start, was C11 had exploded, and so I replaced it, and I replaced C5, C4, C2 also. And I've been doing this on all power driver boards that come in. At the bottom of this, you can't see it very well, but there's a 1N4004 blocking diode with the banded side pointing toward the PCB. And what that does is it prevents you, or anybody, from connecting flash lamp power, let's say that 5-pin header up there, with the key pin at pin 2, with J132 down, or there's 132, yeah, 132 over here, that's the same form. And I've seen that more than once now. It's a honest mistake, but we need to prevent that kind of stuff from happening. So I've got my test equipment connected up here. Power driver board's generating 4.97 volts. Very nice. And I was playing some whitewater with it earlier. Oh, this is also the board set where the dot controller in the center of the board also was creating a vertical line on the display every 8th column or 9th column. A column, 7 blanks, and another column. And the reason for that was a failed RAM. Most of the time that's due to ribbons, but in this case it was a failed RAM. And I'll put that RAM back in and show you what that was like. Back to tests, solenoid test. All working properly. GI, I've got my GI tester over there. Crank through. So all those are working properly. Let's do all lamp and flashers. And we can see all the playfield lamps are working properly. And here's the flash lamps on the back glass. Behind the back glass, all working properly. And that is it for testing this board. I'm going to throw the failed RAM back into the dot controller to show you what that looks like. Oh, let me show you what display test looks like when it works. And here's a tip. You can advance through the display test very rapidly by holding the advance button down. And the important thing is to let it run all the way to the end. So it's going to go to page 15, I think. Yeah, and then this is the important part. RAM test okay. And then it starts up again. So that did not happen with the failed RAM in, and I'll show you what that looked like. This is that failed RAM, and I have it in my Neolock SRAM tester. And unfortunately, Neolock is no longer producing these things, but let's put it into test. It's a pretty good tester. It does do some squirrely things with 6116s once in a while. Like if you test a bad one and then a good one, it'll say they're both bad. So you can see that this 6264 is in fact bad. So I'm going to close the case on this dot matrix controller board and diagnose it with failed RAM. I have reinstalled the failed RAM, and you can see right away that it's putting those vertical bars on the display, or vertical lines. And if I go into display test this time, and I'm going to advance this so it goes through it quickly. But you'll see some interesting things happening. In the upper right, you can see pixels coming on and off as the line progresses. And then the next display, you can see that column of pixels on the right that's sort of a dotted line. That is a clear indication to me, I've seen it many times, that the RAM has failed. Now the next test that it's going to go through, let me get through all these. Oh, okay. See, it won't even go into the page test without causing an error. So at this point, the most likely candidate is the RAM. There are other candidates also that it could be. It merely means that the CPU board cannot test the RAM on the board. So I'm not going to page through all those. It just takes too long. Anyway, that will give you some indication of the various kinds of failures that can manifest with a failed RAM. So it's not always cables. Most of the time it is cables. Sometimes it's a RAM. Thanks for watching.